and good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening to you, the good people of the tube. Hope you're today, hope you're feeling grand and all is well in your world. Hello there all. I do hope you enjoyed the acoustic intro. I thought it'd be nice for a change to play something acoustic-y. And I got lost in that. That never felt like 7 odd minutes. It felt like 5 seconds to me. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Let's get to the Q&A Wednesday today, everybody. Let's get to question 1. I've got a lot to get through today, so let's get to question 1. Question 1 today is, what's your opinion on the Alexander Silver Jubilee pedal? Have you tried it, and do you think it can get a good John Frusciante tone? Yes, I have tried the Alexander Silver Jubilee pedal. I have a demo on it, and do I think it get a good John Frusciante tone? No. Not in the slightest. I didn't like that pedal at all. In all fairness, I didn't get on with it, like, for 1 second. I tried, and like I say, I've got a demo on it. It sounds good, but I would never buy one, personally. Not for a John Frusciante thing, not for a Silver Jubilee thing. I just wouldn't. I'm not interested in it. It's not. I think it's. I wouldn't say it's an overrated pedal, but I don't think I don't really rate it. That's what I'm trying to say, basically. Is I don't rate it. I don't really think it's a very good pedal myself, personally. For me, in my opinion, what I've tried with it, I don't like it. I much prefer my Golden Plexi or my Marshall Governor or Marshall Jackhammer. Or any of the other pedals I've got over it, I'd pick them over the Silver Jubilee pedal by the Alexander Silver Jubilee pedal. It's a good pedal, but it's just... It doesn't do the John Frusciante thing. It doesn't make pedals respond like DS2. It doesn't calm them down. It doesn't do that. So yeah, I have tried it, but my opinion on it is I don't rate it. I just don't rate it. I've got no rate on it whatsoever. So, I have got a video. I've got a video demoing it. It's quite a while back now, actually. I don't actually remember when it was, but it was quite a while ago. But yeah, so thank you very much for the question. I hope I answered your question. But I would definitely recommend something like a Golden Plexi or a Marshall Jackhammer over that pedal any day of the week. Substantially cheaper, substantially better, in my opinion. But again, just my opinion. I'm not speaking. I know there's a lot of people out there who love that pedal, and that's cool. But for me, I didn't get on with it for 1 second. It really got my back up. In all the fairness, to be honest with you, it took a long time to dial in when I was happy with it, and if I remember correctly, it was a good sounding pedal, but it just didn't click with me whatsoever. It was like rubbing a porcupine on your face to me. Anyway, moving along. So yeah, how about the question? Moving on to question 2 now. Question 2. I want to get a Marshall head and cab for £750. Which one should I get? Okay, so what I would recommend here is you've got a really good budget there. You didn't say if it has to be valve or hybrid or solid state, so I don't really know which one you would like, and I don't know if you'd want it to be valve or would it be solid state or would it be a hybrid with a preamp valve in it. The amps I would recommend, the number 1 amp I'd recommend, I bet you can't tell what I'm going to say, certain people on YouTube, would be a Marshall MG100H DFX, the old model, not the new model, not the new one at all, the older model. That's what I would recommend. And I would also recommend getting a Marshall JCM 900 A or B cab to match with that head. That would be what I'd recommend. But there are alternatives. There is the Marshall VS, which is a awesome amp, and I recently bought a VS65, which you will see soon, and that is an awesome amp. You could get the Marshall VS. That's got a preamp valve in it though, so that's like a hybrid. So yeah, you could get the Marshall VS as well, or if you wanted to go valve, there's always the option of going valve. I would recommend something like a JCM 900 with a JCM 900 cab. You should be able to get a JCM 900 with a JCM 900 cab for $750. JCM 900, sorry, are not particularly expensive, and they're awesome amps. I mean, a lot of people kind of like, you know, have certain opinions on the JCM 900. I've personally loved every JCM 900 I've played for. I really, really like the 900. I think it's a great amp. Do I prefer it to the 800? Yes and no. I used to have a JCM 850 watt head, the 2-channel, with the Tom Morello Marshall. I used to have one of them for a while, and it was great, but it was very... It had to be loud, and it was unusable, so I got rid of it eventually. It was just too... You had to have it so loud for it to actually do anything. And that was before, like, you know... I didn't have an attenuator. I didn't know what an attenuator was when I got that amp. So, that was how long ago it was. But it wasn't that great. The JCM 900 I found worked at all volumes and sounded really good at low volumes and high volumes. So that's what I would recommend. So if you want to go solid state, I would recommend a Marshall MG HDFX with a JCM 900 cab. Again, the old Marshall MG, not the new Marshall MG. If you want to go hybrid, go for the Marshall VS 100. Which again, with the JSM 900 cab, would be making an awesome combination. And if you want to go valve, I would go for something like a JSM 900. I wouldn't go a DSL or a TSL. I don't really rate those amps very much. I think they're a bit waspy. I don't really like them very much. But another thing I will say is go out and try as many as you can, if you can. There will be my 3 recommendations: Marshall MG, Marshall VS, and Marshall 900. But if you have the ability to go to a shop and try loads of different things, I'd recommend that as well. You never know. You might find that you can pick up a PV Classic 30 head and cab that does what you want it to do. Because the PV Classics are stunning amps. They are absolutely gorgeous amplifiers. You could get like a Fender Blues Junior. You could get an orange CR60 or a CR120 combo. You just go out and try everything. You could get a PV Bandit. Just try all sorts of different things. Boss Katana. Because you never know. I mean, I get that. I get that you said you want a Marshall head and cab. I totally get that, because that's all I ever wanted as well. But you never know where your sound might lie. You never know. You might plug into an Orange or a PV or a Mesa Boogie or a Fender, and you go, oh, there it is. You know what I mean? That's what I want, and the Marshall didn't give me that or whatever. So I would recommend going out and trying as many things as you can, but those would be my 3 recommendations if you had to buy blind. But like I say, make sure the Marshall MG is an old one, not the new one. You want the old one with 4, 5, 6. Well, more dials, basically. You want the old ones, the HDFX, not the new ones. They're not good. So that's what I'd recommend. So but like I say, just go and try as much stuff as you can. That is the fun side of buying an amplifier, is going to try loads of different stuff. It's really, really cool. Okay, so hope that's a question. Moving on to question 3 today, and I'm trying to crack on through these because I've got a lot to answer in question 6. And also there's certain other things that, question 3, this might turn into a bit of a tangent, so I've got to be careful of time. So, okay, so I hope that's a question 3 now. Question 3. Could you explain what's going on in your head when you're improvising? Do you have a melody in your head? Do you see notes? Do you see shapes? Do you see patterns? Okay, so when I'm improvising, I don't think anything. My brain isn't there, and that's when I feel that I'm making music instead of playing the guitar, if you know what I mean. I always feel they're 2 separate entities almost, in a way. It's kind of like when you're focusing on, like, what key you're in. I've got to play, I could play this scale, this mode, that mode. I could do this, I could do that. All that kind of like theoretical stuff. When you're doing that, you're playing the guitar, or the guitar's playing you, one way or the other. I don't know which way around that would be. But to me, like, you're just playing for the sake. You're just playing. You're not really making music. When you're unconscious to what you're doing, when you're literally free of that restriction, that whole this getting in the way. When you're free of that, that's when you're really... Wait, it's really hard to word this. Excuse me. When you're free of conscious thought and you're into unconscious thought when you're playing the guitar, that's when you're truly, this is going to sound dead zen, but that's when you're truly one with the guitar and the music. You know, you're no longer just somebody playing a guitar. You are one. You're not a guitar. You're not a person. You know, you're just a music factory that's coming out of you. So what I see when I'm improvising is nothing really. I'm too wrapped up in what's going on. I like to focus on drums, chords, bass sounds of stuff. I mean, when I play live, I've always loved to listen to bass and drums. And when I solo in the trio, when I play with a trio or when I'm soloing with the Dukes, the only thing I'm listening to is the drums or cajon and the bass. I try not to listen overly too much to what I'm... Sorry about that, everyone. We had a bit of a memory card glitch there that happens every now and again. I don't think my memory card's big enough. Anyway, but yeah, when you don't judge... I think this is where we left off. When you don't judge yourself, I think that's when you kind of like... You're totally free to express whatever you want to express because you don't have anything there blocking it. You know what I mean? There's no conscious thought of... what are people going to think, or, you know, I need to show off, or I need to be flash, I need to do this, I need to do that kind of thing. When you're unconscious to it, you just play, and it's just total freedom in music at that point. You know, you're not focused on trying to impress anybody. You're just making music for the sake of making music, and invariably that will reach out and it will grab people more than if you went really shred-tastic, you know what I mean? Playing really fast has its points, you know, it really does. And there are points where playing fast really says something, you know what I mean? The intensity of playing fast really says something at certain points, but it has to be the right moment. It can't just be because you want to show off, you know what I mean? It can't be that. You've got to serve the song, you've got to serve the music. You can't serve your ego. Your ego will get you into trouble, whereas the music won't. You know what I mean? You've got to serve the song. You can't be like, you know, just wanting to show off all the time and, you know, just sweet picking, shredding, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to do. You've got to really listen to the song and play to what that song requires of you, not what you want to do. You know what I mean? The music will dictate what you can and cannot do. If the song dictates that it needs a really soulful, slow guitar solo from you, that's what you've got to do. You've got to listen to the music. You can't listen to your ego to say, oh, I can just wang all over the top of this. That doesn't mean anything then. You know, you've really got to listen to the music. You've really got to be absolutely involved in that. You can't just be like, you know, a lone ranger out there doing whatever you want to do, so to say. So when I improvise, like I said, I am unconscious to it, hence the stupid faces and the weird movements, and my legs go up sometimes, and I'm like, I don't remember doing that. I've seen it sometimes when I'm editing videos, like, you know, my leg will kind of like go flying in the air. I'm like, I don't remember that. Or like I'll pull funny faces, or I'll like, you know, I just do the Gary Moore face, you know, that kind of the Jimi Hendrix Woodstock face, if you will, or the Gary Moore face, just totally lost in it. Because the fact of the matter is, when you're at that point, you're not bothered about how stupid you look or anything on that. All you are you're not even concentrating. All you are focused on is playing. And that's all it should ever be. Like today's intro jam on the acoustic. I mean, I got totally sent to another world on that. I do see, every now and again, not all the time, but every now and again, during some solos, I will see certain things, but I'm never going to say what it is because that's for me. That's my little thing. That's my thing. What I see, it's normally when I'm staring. Sometimes when I'm soloing and I don't have my eyes shut, or I'm not pulling funny faces, I stare off into the distance like that. And people have gone as far as like, what's he looking at? You know, especially live, and I stare off into the distance. People are like, what's he staring at? Yeah, I'm looking up at the ceiling and I'm just like staring at things. And I do see certain things then, but that's for me. Like I said, I don't want to talk about that because that's for me. That's my own personal thing. But I do see certain things, yes. But if I've got my eyes shut, when I've got my eyes shut, I see things as well. But again, I don't want to talk about it. They're more my personal kind of things. I don't really want to talk about. I hope that makes sense. It's but I don't have a conscious thought about what I'm playing. I can hear what I'm playing, and this I know, but I'm not conscious towards it. If that makes any sense whatsoever, I'm not thinking, oh, I can then go to this scale, or I could do this note, and I could do this, I could do that. I'm not thinking that. I'm not thinking at all, as far as I know. I mean, obviously, I'm unconsciously thinking. You're always thinking. And I know some people will always say, oh, you've got to be thinking. You can't just be totally thinking. Yeah, you can. Your brain is working, but you're not consciously thinking. That sounds really confusing, but hopefully it makes sense. When I'm soloing, I'm not in any way, shape or form going like, oh, I'm in this key, I can do this, I can do that, I can do the other. It's just the music will take you if you let it. If you just relinquish control of you and just let the music take you instead. And this goes for not only playing music, but to listening to music and experiencing live music and any music in general. If you can just let everything go, all the stress, all anxieties, all whatever, if you can let all that go and just let music take you away, you experience it on a very high level. And it's a very, very deep thing when you experience it. I'm sure quite a lot of us have experienced that, if not all of us out there in YouTube land have experienced that at some point with one song or something else. There's always that kind of moment where you're listening to a song and time ceases to exist. Stress ceases to exist. All your worries of the day just go away. Everything just goes away, and all that there is in that moment is total freedom given to you by the power of music. You know what I mean? That's what's going on there. Getting all zen on you. Maybe I should be sat cross-legged like that. I don't know. But yeah, that's it. I've tangented off. But yeah, I am unconscious thought when I play, and it's like my meditation, if you will. I can't meditate, and my anxiety issue is dictated. Loads of people have said, oh, you should learn to meditate, it'd be really good for you. I can't keep that still when I don't have a guitar. When I play music, it's the only time my brain goes still enough for me to actually just kind of be and free of anything. The guitar has always done that for me. It's always been my, like I say, my meditation, my therapy, my everything kind of thing in that way. It's always took me away to a place where I want to be instead of my anxieties or whatever putting me where they think I should be. So, improvisation to me is massively important because it's how I'm able to get out what's inside of me and what I want to say out. You know what I mean? Like, some people say, "Oh, your original songs are really dark or really sad sounding," and this and that. It's like, yeah, I know, but that's whatever that is. That's the way whatever is in here. That's what's coming out of there. That's me. You know what I mean? There's one reason or another. You know what I mean? So yeah, I do see certain things when I play and improvise, but again, I don't want to talk about what they are because they're for me only. For your eyes only, Dave. Anyway, but yeah, I do feel that being unconscious and giving yourself up to music is really important when you're listening to it or playing it or experiencing it in any way, shape or form. It just let it take you, and it's amazing what it can do. The power of music can never be understated. It really can't. It's such a powerful art form, if not the most powerful, dare I say, art form. And the guitar is a instrument that lends itself so well and so much to freedom of expression. There's so much the guitar can do that certain other musical instruments can't. The guitar really is a really massively instrument. You can really express through it. But yeah, when I'm improvising, it's unconscious thought, and like Jeff Buckley said, you play the best when you're unconscious to what you're playing. You know, when you've got conscious thought, you don't play particularly well. Although it might appear really good, you know what I mean? It's not very fulfilling. And, you know, you've really got to be unconscious to it and be kind of on a higher level with it. You know, because music is such a high level thing anyway. So, especially when it reaches out and grabs you properly, it's incredible. But yeah. So yeah, that's what I think. When I can't go to that point, I'm thinking about scales and blues licks and what can I do here, and invariably, I end up hating whatever I play at that point. That I have scrapped certain intros because I've done it and I haven't switched off to it, and I'm like, no, that's not good enough, delete. And you're always your own worst critic, as we all probably know. But I know when I've switched off and I know when I haven't. Like, time stops. It ceases to exist. You know what I mean? Stress seems to exist. You cease to exist. All that exists in that moment is music. And this is, I really feel this is massively important for when you kind of like, when you listen to music, like, you know, just forget the world and all its problems and all the nastiness and the horribleness and the crap you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And just let music take you away and just soothe you. You know, just let it take all that away. Let it be your, you know, your freedom, so to say, from whatever it is. So I could ramble about that for ages, but I'm really going to move on, people of the tube. So yeah, so what explaining going on my head when I'm improvising, I'm not conscious enough to even know. I can just hear it and I just go with it, and it just takes me wherever it wants me to go. That's basically it. That's the short answer. That's the short, boring answer. That's the non-tangent answer. But I like to tangent, as you all know. Anyway, but yeah, so yeah, I hope I answered your question. I'm going to move on to question 4 now, because I could talk about that for absolutely hours. I might come back to that in a video on its own at some point. It could be called "To Feel or Not to Feel." That is the question. Would I get copyrighted? I don't know. Shakespeare might come back from a grave and come up to me and goes, I'm afraid that's copyright on my name. I think it'd look a bit more, you know, decomposed. But then again, I don't know. Anyway, oh, that was supposed to mean. Anyway, moving on to question 4 now, everybody. So I hope that's the question. Question 4 today is, have you tried the Blackstar HT Club 40? If you have, what are your thoughts? And if you could pick one song to play for the rest of your life, what would it be? Okay, so the Blackstar HT Club 40, yeah, I have tried it. I don't like it. I'm much in the same way as the Alexander Silver Jubilee Pedal, is I don't rate Blackstar amps. I've tried so many Blackstar amps to try and find something I like about them, and I've never found it. I've tried the solid state, so I've tried the full valve, I've tried the 200 watt heads, I've tried the artist head. It's like a plexi. I've tried that. I didn't like that. I didn't think it had. It's like a single channel amp. It looks like a plexi, kind of, and I didn't like that. And I didn't like the big valve stacks and stuff. And I don't like the combos. And I didn't like the Club 40. It was just. They're too fizzy. They're not dark enough for me. They're really brightly voiced. They're really modern voiced, and I don't really like that. I like a lot of darker sound. You know, it just. If you get me one at a gig, I would make it work. To put it that way, but it wouldn't be my first choice, and it probably wouldn't be my millionth choice. If you know what I mean. I really don't like Blackstar amplifiers. I mean, I understand that people do, and that's cool. But for me, I've never plugged into one where I've been happy with it for a second. I've tried so hard with them as well. Actually, I'll tell a lie. The only Blackstar amp I've ever really liked was the Blackstar Fly, and I love my Blackstar Fly, and well, until this thing came along, and this thing absolutely annihilated the Blackstar Fly for me. That is the only Blackstar amp I've ever really liked, and then it broke on me. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, I have tried it, but I'm not a big fan. I don't really have any thoughts either way on Blackstar amps anymore. It's like Mesa Boogie. I've never really liked Mesa Boogie. I've always found them to be a bit too fizzy as well for the sound that I like, so to say. So yeah, I have tried it. It's not really an amp for me, I'm afraid. And you also say, yeah, excuse me. if I could pick one song to play for the rest of my life, what would it be? Scar Tissue by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Simply because of what it means to me. There's no question. As soon as I read that question out on the emails to write it down, I know what song it's going to be. It's going to be Scar Tissue. Not only do I absolutely adore the song for what it means to me, but there's so much room for expression in it. I have played that song nearly every day of my guitar playing life, which is 17 years in May, and I've never got bored of it. I always play that riff, I always play that song, and it must get really annoying for people around me because I'm forever playing that song. But it's because of what it means. Like I said, I've done a video on that, so I don't really want to go into that because I don't want to turn into a blubbering wreck on camera, like I nearly did in that video. But yeah, Scar Tissue. People of the Tube, if you could play one song, if you could pick one song to play for the rest of your life, what would it be? Let us know in the comment section below. Okay, so moving on to question 5 now. Question 5 is, are you a fan of Carlos Santana? Yes, but I am not a mega fan, and he's not somebody I'd listen to on a regular basis. But I am a fan of Carlos Santana. Yes, he's an awesome guitarist. I love his tone. It's such a mid-rangey, honky tone. It's gorgeous. It's a really cool sound. And actually, when I first started playing guitar, I really wanted one of these PRS Santanas. And then I found out how much they cost. I was like, maybe not. But I always wanted to try a PRS Santana. I never did, but I never have, sorry. I've tried quite a few PRSs, but I never tried a Santana, but I'd like to at some point, because I had a picture of one on the wall. I used to idolise this picture I had of this Carlos Santana PRS on the wall. I used to love the look of it. I absolutely adored it. And I remember hearing his version of Black Magic Woman, and certain other things of his. I really do love his music and his playing and his tone and his feel is awesome and stuff like that. But he's not a guitarist I would listen to over John Frusciante, Peter Green, all them lot. Like yeah, he's not massively on my radar, so to say. There's a lot of guitarists who I really like but don't really sit on my radar, but I still like them. Eddie Van Halen being one of them. I absolutely love Eddie Van Halen's guitar playing, but he's not somebody I listen to on a regular basis. Same with Carlos Santana. Same with all sorts of guitarists. Even down to like people like Eric Clapton. I love Eric Clapton and his playing, but he doesn't sit very much on my radar. Not as much as say John Frusciante, Peter Green, Jimi Hendrix. People like that. So yeah, I've got this kind of radar of guitarists who I listen to, who I absolutely adore and really reach out and grab me. And I've got it's a fairly big list of them. And then there's a list of people who I really like but don't sit in that radar, you know what I mean? They're just kind of outside of it, so to say, who I still like but not as much. Anyway, so yeah, but I am a fan of Carlos Santana, but he's in that kind of group. I listen to every now and again, not really a great deal. But I still love his playing, I love his tone, I love his feel, and he's just one cool guy. Anyway, so yeah, I hope that's a question. Right, final question there, everybody. Question 6. I have a lot to get through here. I had to go on to the other side of a paper. So, question 6 today is... question 6 has a lot of points. So, we'll get to question 6A, if you will. So, question 6A today is... do you think John Frusciante will ever write an autobiography? No. I would love to think he would, but... Sorry, everybody, I'm getting a really dry throat today. I'd love to think that John would write an autobiography. I'd love to read it, but he doesn't come across as a person who would do that kind of thing personally. I don't really know the man, so I can't really comment 100%. But from your own, oddly enough, you talk about the next point you come across. This kind of covers that one as well. But I don't know. I don't really know him. But he comes across as a person who wouldn't really kind of like take a lot of stock in that kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like, his life was his life and he doesn't maybe feel the need to share it in a book kind of thing. Even though it'd make an amazing read, I'd love to read it. I'd love to read his thoughts on his life, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. I'd love that. But, because I'll tell you one autobiography which I absolutely love and I've read about 8 or 9 times, is Eric Clapton's autobiography. I think he's absolutely brilliant. It's so well written. Everything, it's such a good book. Anthony Kiedis' book is really good as well. Slash's book is really good. Duff McKagan's book is really good. Stephen Adler's book is really good. You know, that there's a lot of autobiographies that are really, really cool. But yeah, I don't think John would ever do anything like that. I can't think he would ever be interested in something like that. But again, I don't know the guy, so you know, we never know. We never know. So question 6, part B, is do you think we idealise John to some extent? Yeah, I think you always idealise your heroes. You know what I mean? You know, I reckon that's where the whole saying comes from. Is like, you know, never meet your heroes because they'll always disappoint you. I think that's where it comes from, because when you see somebody on stage and they're like, you know, whatever, and you're like absolutely like enamored with what they're doing or whatever they're playing or whatever. When you see somebody doing that, you do have an image in your head of what they're like in person. You know, you idealise what they're like, but they're not always that way. And I think we kind of do idealise John. I mean, John fans really do. I mean, a lot of kind of like, you know, and I'm guilty of that as well. And you know, I'd make no arguments about that. But I think that's the thing. I mean, I think you do idealise your heroes. You know, it's because you think so much about them. You know, because they're such a big part of your life that it'd be hard not to, really. You know what I mean? It'd be really hard not to kind of like have a kind of preset idea of what you think they're like in your head. You know, it's funny. It's funny the way that kind of works, and you know, it's, you know, the way you think. You know, what would it like to meet Jimi Hendrix in person? What would it like to meet John Frusciante in person? What would it like to meet, you know, Peter Green or Eric Clapton or Rory Gallagher in person? What would it be like? You know, what are these people actually like in person in comparison to their persona you see in magazines or live concerts or on albums and through their music? You know. So yeah, I think we do, but I think that's okay. I think that's okay to do that, because at the end of the day, it's like, you know, sometimes your view on somebody is 100% correct, and sometimes your heroes are what they appear to be. You know what I mean? In John's case, I don't know. It's really hard to get a handle on John, because John, during his Chili Peppers time, kind of went between awkward and really cool, and then really awkward and really cool. I mean, during the Blood Sugar Sex Magic tour, a bit of it he actually did, awkwardness just reigns supreme there. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the Saturday Night Live performance of Under a Bridge, it says it all. And then, like, when he came back to the Chili Peppers, and he's really, just really calm and zen and just really softly spoken and just really kind of like soulful kind of guy. And then you get to the bossy era of By the Way, where he was dead bossy and he was pushing Flea around and pushing Anthony around, pushing Chad around, and, you know, really wanted things a certain way. You get that era, and then you get Stadium Arcadium era, where he's again back to kind of like just being, you know, just cool. And then like you see pictures of him with fans where he's really, really cool. But then he'll say stuff like, you know, playing live doesn't mean anything, never meant anything to him. It's like, you know, he's a very complex character, he's John. He really is. And again, because I don't know him personally or anything like that, it's really hard to get a handle on, like, you know, what he actually is like, because I've never met him. Would I like to meet him? Yes and no. I'd be terrified to meet him, because what if he is just a, you know, a horrible person? What if he is just awkward? You know, what if he is just like really uncomfortable to be around? You know. But then again, what if he isn't? What if he's absolutely awesome to be around? You can have amazing conversations with him about, you know, whatever. You know, it's weird. It's weird. But again, this is the whole, you know, idealizing people is like, you know, you have your idea of what people are like. Everybody does it. You know, everybody judges everybody else. Yeah, everybody with one way or another. You know what I mean? Everyone judges people to a certain extent. You know, you kind of there's that saying, isn't there? You only get a chance to make one. You know, you only get one chance to make an impression. You know, and that's very true, because like, if you make a bad impression from the start, you know, it's very hard to kind of come back from that sometimes. And it's the same thing with reputation as well. You know, it can take a lifetime to build your reputation up. It can take 1 second to absolutely destroy it. You know, And John's nearly done that on several occasions. You know what I mean? John's got a reputation for being a really heartfelt, soulful conduit to music. And then he'll say really hurtful things about us, the fans, you know, and this, that, and the other. So, I don't know. But yes, I think we do idealise John and our heroes to some extent, definitely. But, you know, I think we're allowed to do that. I don't think that's a bad thing in any way, shape or form. I think that's okay. Okay, so moving on. Question 6, part C is, what's the best birthday gift you got? My first ever electric guitar and my PV Rage amp. That was the best birthday gift I ever got because it set me on this road. Before that, I didn't know where I was going or what I was doing. I didn't have any clue of what was going on. I was just totally lost in the world. And then I got my guitar on my 16th birthday. My dad bought me it on my 16th birthday with my little PV Rage, and that was that. Now that to me is it. And then in consequence, you know, in you know, years after that, I got my Marshall MG for my birthday and stuff like that. And but yeah, that sticks in my head as being one of the best, if not the best thing I've ever got. Because like I say, it gave me this where I am now. You know what I mean? That's where it started for me. You know what I mean? I was messing around on a nylon string acoustic before I got my electric. As soon as I got my electric, it was like, yeah, that's it. This is what I'm doing. This is all I'm ever gonna do. You know, this is all I ever wanted to do. This is all I ever wanted. You know, when I played that Washburn through that, when we got home after buying it, and I set up the PV Rage, and I plugged that Washburn into it, and just turned it up really loud and played Basket Case by Green Day. That was it. You know, it makes me so happy. But yeah, that was it. That's it for me. It really is. I mean, that's the best thing. Just brilliant. Even beat getting this. It beat getting this. The Donkey Kong Special Edition Game Boy, everybody. But yeah, it beat even getting that, and that does still work. And I still play it, which is great. But when I got that amp and that guitar, that was when things really changed in my life. It really turned things around, and all of a sudden I had a purpose to be here. Instead of just kind of trying to find ways not to be here, I was like, I had a purpose to be here, and all of a sudden it was like, if I'm not here, I can't do that, and that's not good enough. So, and that's still the way it is today. I'm having a really, really not a very good time in there of late. It's not easy, and it's still the same thought. If I'm not here, I can't play guitar. You know, if I can't play music and I can't play guitar, then you know, the way out is not the way out there. You know what I mean? So anyway, but yeah, the best birthday gift I ever got was that Washburn and that PV Rage. That was where, that's where it all started for me. 17 years ago in May. 17 years ago. Good gravy. Anyway, so yeah, moving along. So question 6, part D now is, have you ever tried the Yamaha AG03 or AG06? No, I haven't, I'm afraid. Sorry. So I can't really comment on that one. So moving on to your next point. The next one was, do you think you can take John Frusciante's lyrics seriously, or is it better just to focus on the music? Yeah, I mean, you can take them seriously or you don't have to. You know, it's totally down to the way you perceive it. It's totally down to your perception. You know what I mean? A lot of John's lyrics are very kind of like, very strangely worded. You know what I mean? There's a lot of kind of like weird wording. And John's got a very strange way of kind of like getting certain points across in a very kind of roundabout way. But yeah, you can take him seriously or you don't have to take him seriously. You can focus on the music, you can focus on the melody, you can focus on what he's trying to say or whatever, really. It's so subjective. Like everything with music, everything's subjective. You know, tone, guitars, you know, what a song means to one person won't be what a song means to somebody else. You know what I mean? What scar tissue means to me won't mean what scar tissue means to somebody else. You know what I mean? It's all subjective. Everything's subjective. That's the beauty of music, is it brings out people's individuality, and that's never a bad thing. one person might love a song for one reason, another person might hate it for the same reason. That's the most awesome, beautiful thing about music is, like I say, it just brings out you instead of kind of like, something you're told to like or whatever, or told to feel or whatever. So yeah, again, totally subjective. So the next thing you asked is, what song was the most difficult for you to learn from Red Hot Chili Peppers or other artists? Okay, so another artist, the hardest song I've ever learned from another artist would be Machine Gun by Jimi Hendrix, because there's just so much power in that just can't be reached. You know what I mean? The hardest Chili Peppers song I've ever had to learn, apart from Scar Tissue, because of how I had to go back and learn it after whatever happened. Well, what happened? I don't want to talk about it again in this video. I've got a video on that. That was hard enough. But anyway, Scar Tissue was hard, but not for technical reasons. Technical reasons wise, the Turn It Again. Trying to get it all those guitar parts to work as one guitar part, that was difficult. Snow's difficult to get your head around. I Could Die For You was hard because there's big stretch chords in I Could Die For You. I can't pick one. But other artists would definitely be Jimi Hendrix, Machine Gun. It's so no, I don't think anybody can play that song properly. The closest anybody ever got is Randy Hansen. Randy Hansen is the only person who's ever got close to playing as intense as Jimmy in Machine Gun. Other than that, I've never heard anybody get that. I've never heard anybody do that. But Jimmy is the master of that. Absolute master, and will not be beaten on that kind of intensity from scary. Absolutely scary. But yeah, there's quite a lot of Chili Pepper songs I kind of struggled with just for one thing or another. But I Can't Stop was hard to start with because I couldn't do the mutey thing. That took a long time for me to be able to get kind of like the muted left hand kind of technique down so you can strum Can't Stop instead of picking it. The big shred guitar thing that John does, that was difficult. Like I say, doing big stretch chords like in I Could Die For You was difficult. Learning to kind of like emote the way John does was difficult. Everything's hard to an extent. Even playing like, even playing Ramones songs like Blitzkrieg Bop, which is only 3 chords. Why is it 3 chords? But 4 chords really. But anyway, mainly 3 chords. Yeah, is difficult. Playing She by Green Day, which is definitely 3 chords, is difficult. You know what I mean? There's something in everything that's hard. Just because you can play it doesn't mean you can play it. You know what I mean? That's that weird thing. One song that I really slaved over was Diary of a Madman. Randy Rhoads' thing, because there's the picked intro, which I had to figure out note by note to get the chords, because they're quite strange chords. I have no idea what the chords are, but I know the shapes. And then obviously kind of like getting into a verse and learning all the little different riffs and stuff. The other thing I never learnt was the solo, because I like to improvise that and just kind of mess around with it, because my style doesn't really match with Randy's, and I don't really play with that kind of thing in that kind of way he played, so to say. So I like to improvise that and make my own kind of thing up there. And also Bark at the Moon, Jake E. Lee, kind of like that. I kind of slaved over learning Bark at the Moon. I slaved over a lot of songs, actually, to be honest with you, because that's what you do. Anyway, but yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of songs that I've struggled with over the years, definitely. Yngwie Malmsteen, Far Beyond the Sun. Never made it to the end of that. I got about 3/4 of the way through. Cliffs of Dover by Eric Johnson, all sorts of stuff. But yeah, Chili Peppers wise, there's a lot as well, and other artists I do. But I do think the hardest song I've ever tried to learn was Machine Gun, just because of the intensity can't be matched, if that makes any sense. Anyway, so your next point was, I hope I've answered that part. Your next point was, what Red Hot Chili Peppers song would you recommend to a beginner? I would recommend something like Danny California, or Scar Tissue, or By the Way, or Universally Speaking, Parallel Universe, Californication, any of them. Any of the really melodically friendly songs, you know what I mean? Power of Equality, stuff like that, you know what I mean? Sorry, anyway. I'm going to blow my nose. You didn't see that. It's disgusting. Any others? Yeah, I mean, there's so many songs I'd recommend to beginners when it comes down to Chili Peppers songs, because there's a lot of songs that are really accessible, even down to like, you know, Knock Me Down and really early stuff like, you know, Backwards, you know, Green Heaven, you know, Organic Anti-Box Beatbox Back. I can never say that. That song. Yeah, I mean, stuff like that. I mean, you can stretch all over the Chili Peppers stuff. You know, Aeroplane, Dark Necessities. There's a lot of Chili Peppers songs you can recommend to beginners, either on guitar or to people just getting into the Chili Peppers. You know, they're bound to find something, because there's loads of stuff in there that kind of like borderlines, kind of like heavy rock, funk, melodic pop stuff, you know, all sorts of stuff. So you can find a kind of anything in the Chili Peppers, really. You just got to look for it, and you've got to be open to accepting it, you know what I mean? Yeah, so it'd be hard to recommend, but some of the ones I've just recommended, I definitely do kind of go that. Okay, so the next point was, do you think Californication would have happened if it wasn't for John's years of isolation when he was on heroin? Probably not. No, I think the 7 odd years that John was kind of isolated from and didn't play guitar, and he was like, you know, in his heroin phase and isolation phase, I reckon that's what made him come back with something like Californication. It's kind of like that's the catalyst almost for it. I mean, John doesn't see though that period of time as a negative thing, which is quite cool when you think about it. You know, it's not good to see periods of a life as negative, so it's nice to kind of know that he doesn't think that of those years. But you see the V-Pro interview, and it's definitely bad. You know what I mean? I would class that as bad. He looks like a walking corpse. You know what I mean? He really does look terrible. It doesn't make sense. He's out of his mind. He's totally out of his mind. I've only ever watched that interview once. I would never watch it again because it's too upsetting me to watch. Joe was listening to it the other day, and I listened to it, but I couldn't watch it. I can't see him like that. It really upsets me to see him like that because he's such a big influence on me. You know, I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it. John's my biggest influence and my biggest hero above any of my others. You know, he's the one guy who really speaks to me on a level that nobody else does. And to see him in that way really breaks my heart. And I know he doesn't see it as a negative thing, and that's really cool. And you know, and he definitely did come back and give us stuff like Californication, by the way, and Stadium Arcadium and all his solo stuff. But yeah, I do think Californication is a rehab album for John. It really expelled a lot of ghosts and hurt and pain. I reckon it did him a world of good, Californication. I don't think if he hadn't done those 7 years of heroin addiction, he would have left the band when he did. He would have we'd have had Californication. You know, I don't know if I'd even gone down that route of playing more melodic, slower stuff, because they weren't really that kind of band. I mean, you had certain songs off, like, you know, Blood Sugar, like, you know, I Could Have Lied and stuff like that, but they still had that real rocky funk aspect about them, even into, like, you know, One Hot Minute with Dave Navarro. I mean, there was, like, My Friends on One Hot Minute, but, like, you know, Aeroplane and stuff like that. It doesn't sound anything like the band did when John came back during the Californication. You know, it really changed. It really changed him. And I think, you know, I would say for the better, because the way John was when he was really young was just really crazy. He was crazy because, like, you know, that was the persona he thought he had to put on being a rock star. And then the persona he put on during Blood Sugar Sex Magic and into the tour was a really dark persona. Really quite strange. Very strange. And then the kind of like the era where you know, he was on heroin was another thing. And then John goes in, like, you know, he goes in cycles, John does, but he never ever comes back round. Excuse me. You know, it's really weird. It's almost like he dies and gets reborn, and he talks about that tons in his songs, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you know, is born in the morning, died every night. You know what I mean? John talks about that kind of being reborn and dying thing a lot in his solo stuff, and that's a very strong subject matter to John. You know, and I can totally understand that. But he does. He kind of like, once he's done with something, he's done with it. You know what I mean? I feel that's the way John is. Like, you know, once he's done with it, that's dead. That part of his life is dead. It's no longer part of what I am now. I am reborn. I am alive again, and this is what I'm doing. I don't think that seems to be the way he thinks. Again, I don't know him, so I can't really 100% comment, but that's the way it feels to me, if that makes any sense. But, so yeah, I do think Californication is a album of consequence from John's years of isolation from everything, you know what I mean? So yeah, I do think of that. It is that. Okay, so moving on to the final 2 points of question 6. Why do you think Flea made a novel instead of a biography? I don't know. Maybe it's just something he preferred. Maybe it's something he wanted to do instead of actually making like a biography. He wanted to do that instead. You know. Again, I don't really know. I don't know him personally, so I can't really comment. But I don't really know. I really don't. I really don't know. I mean, they're all really complex individuals. Really, I mean, we all are to an extent. None of us are simple human beings. There's no such thing as a simple human being. I don't think. You know, nothing's ever. You know what I mean? Nothing's ever kind of straight down the line, so to say. There's always something, and I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't know how to answer that one. Sorry, so I do apologise. So your final point of the day was final point on question 6 is: do you think John Frusciante stopped playing guitar because he had nothing else to express with it anymore? Kind of, but not really. Because John, apparently, according to his own words, he still plays guitar every day. You know what I mean? But he's not focused on what that instrument can bring anymore. He's more focused on what his synthesizers can bring to music instead. And that's fair enough. That's totally cool. He's just following the path he's following, so to say. You know, it's But I don't think I don't think he's ran out of things to express on the guitar, because the fact of the matter is, you've always got something to express. We all of us have something to express, whether it be one thing or another. Depending on the day we've had or what's going on in our lives at that point in time, we all have the want and the need to express feelings. You know what I mean? And you can either do that by talking or making music or painting or writing or drawing or in any way. You know, there's millions of different ways to express yourself, and I don't think people ever run out of expression. I think people just kind of like want to do something different, and I think John was of that ilk. I think he just wanted to distance himself. Once he left the Chili Peppers, he was just like, I don't want to do the guitar thing. I've done it for this many years. I want to do something totally different and out there. And I think, you know, that's when all the synthesizer stuff came in and kind of took over from the guitar more than anything, really. But like I say, he said he still does play guitar, you know, all the time. So, you know, I don't know whichever way to take that one. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think he ran out of expression. Somebody like John, I don't think can run out of expression on an instrument, because they're just naturally talented. You know what I mean? He just from the moment John was born, he was always destined to play the guitar. In my opinion, it sounds a bit weird, I know, but it does feel like that to me. It's like certain people, are, you know, Jimi Hendrix, are just destined to do great things with a guitar. Certain people are destined to do great things with writing books or painting or driving a race car or whatever, you know what I mean? Or, you know, sculpting, whatever, you know, building houses, you know, boxing even, you know, Rocky. I'll tell you what, Rocky's got some awesome quotes. The Rocky films are possibly some of the most like inspirational films ever. But anyway, I'm digressing. Anyway, but yeah, I don't think John stopped playing guitar because of that. I think he just wanted to distance himself from the whole Chili Peppers pop guitar, rock guitar, funk guitar, soulful guitar thing. He just wanted to get away from it. Will he come back round to it? I reckon he'll come back round to guitar, but not in the way we're expecting. You know what I mean? It won't be the John of old. Because like I said, I feel the way John thinks is once something's passed in his life, like I said, it's dead. That period of time is dead. He might have come on it with fond memories or not, I don't know, or see it as a positive or negative thing. But I feel that's the part of him, that part of his life is gone, and he's been reborn into what he is now, and that's what he's doing now. Again, I don't know him, so I never spoke to him, but this is the way, again, idealising, and you know, this is where I kind of perceive it in a way. But I don't know. But I don't think John stopped playing guitar because he had nothing to express. I don't think that's all. So yeah. Anyway, that's it, everybody. And I'm running out of time. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this Q&A. I hope it's been informative. I hope I've answered your questions okay. I hope it's something you can kind of take away. And I will see you again on Friday for another video. As usual, I have no idea what it is. We'll find out on Friday. But yeah. Have a great morning, afternoon, and good evening. And yes, goodbye now. Have a great one.